G'day, g'day, my name's Alan Gamble. Welcome to another episode of Aussie Box Office Charts, where Spider-Man and the Odyssey continue to dominate, but we do have a few new entries this week. Let's get into the top 10. So, starting with number 1, Spider-Man Brand New Day, no surprises there, with another $9.4 million in its third week of release, dropping just 45% for a current total of $69.3 million. That is really impressive. That is the third highest grossing MCU movie of all time at the Australian box office, and it's also creeping up the highest grossing movies of all time at the Australian box office. That is currently in 8th, but it is shimmying, and it's just past Deadpool and Wolverine that was at $67 million. We'll check those numbers after the top 10. The Odyssey holds number 2 with another $3.6 million in its 5th week of release, dropping just 30% for a current total of $52.8 million. Another really impressive total gross there. That is Christopher Nolan's highest grossing movie at the Aussie box office, but we'll get more into Christopher Nolan after the top 10. Our first new entry for this week, The End of Oak Street, opens with $1.5 million. Not smashingly spectacular, but also not a total bomb. We'll see how it tracks moving forward. One Night Only opens with $400,000 for a current total of $589,000, as it was doing some early screenings the last few weeks. I did check it out and I quite enjoyed it, if you're a fan of Will Gluck comedies. And sneaking in to number 5 is Cat's Eye Wild Hearts with $350,000, which is a music documentary about the titular K-pop group. Moving on to 6 through 10, Toy Story 5 drops down to number 6 with another $250,000 in its 9th week of release, dropping 40% for a current total of $45.9 million. That is now the highest grossing Toy Story movie of all time at the Australian box office, unadjusted for inflation, but doing quite well for that franchise. Holy Days is down at number 7 with another $230,000 in its 2nd week of release, dropping just 29% for a current total of $775,000. Another new entry, Vishwanath and Sons, opens with $220,000, which is a Tamil language romantic drama out of India. Moana 2026, the live action, brings in another $200,000 in its 6th week of release, down in position number 9, dropping 42% for a current total of $15.8 million. Golly, I did expect that one to do significantly better than it did. And our final entry in the top 10 is Arapan 2, that opens with $180,000, which is a Hindi language action romance, also out of India. So first we'll quickly update with how Spider-Man is going. And Spider-Man Brand New Day is the 2nd highest Spider-Man movie of all time at the Australian box office so far, with its $69.3 million. It is quickly running down 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home, and honestly, I think it's going to have the legs to get there. It's got to get $81 million to take the top spot, and it brought in $9 million last weekend. So crunch those numbers, and I think it has that in the tank. In terms of MCU, this is how it's currently shaping up, with Spider-Man Brand New Day being the 3rd highest MCU movie of all time, catching $81 million for Spider-Man No Way Home, and then Avengers Endgame, which ended up with $84.1 million. I'm not going to lie, I think it's got that in the bag. Unless it drops off really hard, I think it's going to make it, because there's not a lot of big competition coming up for the next few weeks. Jumping across to Christopher Nolan, here is his total Aussie gross for all of his movies. The Odyssey is now his number 1 movie with $52.8 million. The previous number 1 was The Dark Knight. That ended up in a total of $45.7 million. The Dark Knight Rises with $43 million, and Oppenheimer with $41 million. Now, if we adjust these ones for inflation, The Odyssey does have a little bit to go to catch both The Dark Knight Rises and The Dark Knight, but it's going to pass Inception. It probably has already at the time of this recording, because they're a few $100,000 apart. I think it's probably got the legs in the tank to take The Dark Knight Rises. I'm not sure if it's going to have the legs to take out The Dark Knight, with an adjusted total of $71.1 million. But still, it's his highest grossing movie in raw dollars at the Australian box office. Smash it for him. No movement on the 2026 top 10 at the Australian box office, just some balance changes. So, Spider-Man Brand New Day holds number 1 with $69.3 million, and The Odyssey is firmly at number 2 with $52.8 million. Michael still holds third spot with $46.5 million, and Toy Story 5 at $45.9 million holds number 4. The Devil Wears Prada 2 is at number 5 with $42.6 million, and the Super Mario Galaxy movie down to number 6 with $39.5 million. Project Hail Mary at number 7 with $39.3 million. Obsession still at number 8 with $25.4 million. At number 9, Minions and Monsters with $23.2 million. And Wuthering Heights rounds out the top 10 with its $20.3 million. Moving on to upcoming releases, and this next weekend is going to keep me very busy. I'm not sure about you. So upcoming theatrical releases, 20th of August. First off, we have Spa Weekend, a new comedy from writer-directors Scott Moore and John Lucas, and starring Leslie Mann, Michelle Batu, Anna Faris, and Isla Fisher. We also have Insidious, Out of the Further, the latest iteration of the Insidious franchise, directed by Jacob Chase and starring Amelia Eve, Island Austin, and Lynn Shay. So those two are not on my radar for next week. These next three are. We also have Mutiny, the latest Jason Statham action movie. This one is directed by Jean-Francois Richet, who last gave us Plane, which was an action movie that was better than it had any right being. It wasn't the best movie of the year or anything, but it was just really, really good. Tony, a new comedy drama from director Matt Johnson, starring Dominic Sessa, Antonio Banderas, and Emilia Jones. And in limited release, so check your smaller and indie cinemas, I'm telling you because I had to hunt for this one down, The Rivals of Amaziah King. One that I didn't even know about until I was prepping for this episode, but it's the new movie from writer-director Andrew Patterson, who last gave us The Vast of Night, which was awesome. So this one for me has gone straight to the top of my list. So on the weekend, I will be personally trying to Mutiny, Tony, The Rivals of Amaziah King, and Fjord. Across on streaming releases, there is a lot less that interests me, but we have Rosebrush Pruning, a new comedy drama from director Kareem Anouns, starring Callum Turner and Riley Keough, and it can be found on Mubi on the 21st of August. We also have Lion, a new documentary miniseries about a pride of lions, and it releases on August 20th on Disney+. In returning series, we have Outer Banks, the very popular series returning for its 5th season on Netflix on the 20th of August. Stillwater, the kids' panda animated series returning to Apple TV for its season 5 on August 21st. And The Ark, also returning for its 3rd season on Binge on August 25th. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that sci-fi series is still going, given its mixed reviews. I only watched the first episode or two, and I wasn't overly impressed. So, 5 movies for this week's challenge of 3, so let's get into it. First up was 2017's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, written and directed by Martin McDonagh, starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, and Abby Cornish, telling a small-time tale of a mother looking to put some pressure on a local police department after they've failed to investigate her daughter's murder. A mate had recently watched In Bruges for the first time, so in talking about that, 3 Billboards had moved up my list quite a bit to get it ticked off, and yeah, it was great. Morally grey, with lots of great writing and great characters, as you would expect from a Martin McDonagh movie. Next up was Ma Inti Bangaram, a Telugu language action thriller out of India, directed by B.V. Nandandi Reddy and starring Samantha Ruth Prabhu, Gulshan Divaya, and Giglanth Mankali, giving us a very similar premise to Last Kiss Goodnight, minus the memory, but a trained fighter is trying to blend in with normal life, only for her past to find her and start to rock the boat. This was a pretty solid action thriller. I wish there was more of a balance on the action side of things for such a long movie, but it was still a pretty decent time, but not on the tier of RRR or Kill. Continuing on from the 2026 catch-up was Minions and Monsters, directed and starring Pierre Coffin, starring alongside Trey Parker, Christoph Waltz, and Allison Janney, taking us on a new history of the Minions and how they stormed old Hollywood. In a move I don't think anyone expected, they somehow made a good Minions movie that was loaded with film references and love for old Hollywood, but with some new comedic fun. The first half was stronger than the second, but it's absolutely wild that they somehow made one of these movies good. The next up was the cinema trip for the week with One Night Only, directed by Will Gluck and starring Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner, a rom-com telling the story of a universe where people are only allowed to hook up for one night a year. As a fan of many Will Gluck movies, I had a good time with this one. The comedy and charm both landing for me personally, and I feel a lot of people are focusing way too much on the how and the why the laws exist in the universe rather than seeing how people might live in such a world. For me, like Civil War, the how and why are not important as a part of the story, so yeah, it was a good one for me. Finally was The Last House, directed by Louise Leterrier and starring Greta Lee and Wagner Moura. A sci-fi horror thriller about everyone being locked in their houses by a mysterious force and having to live and survive in that world without leaving the house. This one was getting panned pretty bad, but I liked it more than the average person appears to. Bottle movies are my jam, and this was a good one of those. Far from the best, not even the best 2026 in terms of bottle movies, but I always enjoy a little sci-fi bottle movie, so I'm partial to them. Granted, I would have preferred if they showed more of the neighbours and their collapse and descents into madness and showing how they might have fared compared to the main family. I think that would have been a better, more interesting contrast to see the decline of, rather than what we got, which was kind of all over the place and a mixed bag. This week's Cinechums Movie Challenge is Mystery Person. So, starting off with things like whodunits, memory loss or amnesia, mysterious characters, missing persons, or characters with disguises. Pretty cool theme. So, a few people have kicked it off with 21 Jump Street, Charade. We've got options like Argo, and Body Double, and Enemy, and Exit 8, and Gone Girl. We've got a lot to choose from, so let's jump over to my shortlist. My shortlist consists of Voicemails for Isabel, rewatch of Vengeance or Decision to Leave, or The Witch Part 1, Mutiny Might Fix, Notorious, Werewolves Within, Little Fish. We've got lots to choose from. We will see how we go. That is it for me this week. Tune in next week where we're going to see how all these new releases stack up against the titans that are Spider-Man and the Odyssey. Can any of these knock them off top spot? We'll find out next week. It's going to be a huge weekend for me. I'm going to be trying to catch 4 movies at the cinema. Mutiny, Tony, The Rivals of Amaziah King, and Fjord, which is an awards contender, but because we don't have the Brisbane International Film Festival this year, I'm going to miss out on a lot of awards contenders this year if I don't catch them when I can. But that's it from me. Tune in next week. Watch more movies. Bye.